Hello, welcome to another video on our channel. Here we translate testimonies of people who have had near-death experiences and other spiritual experiences. Today we will learn about the story of Emery Caldwell. He says he died and saw the future with a radical change in the world after the American elections of 2024. If you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now. Leave a comment with your name and city. Now let's listen to Emery's testimony. In 1999, right after graduating from high school, I enlisted in the United States Air Force, full of dreams and expectations. Coming from a small town in upstate New York, I was eager to start this new phase of my life. On June 30th, 1999, I arrived at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. It was a sunny and hot morning, the kind of suffocating heat I had never experienced before. As soon as I got off the bus, I was greeted by Captain Harris, a tall and imposing man with a rigid posture and a stern expression. He was dressed in his impeccable uniform, reflecting the sunlight almost blindingly. "Welcome to Lackland, Caldwell," he said in a tone that left no doubt about who was in charge. "From now on, you are the property of the United States Air Force." The first days were a chaotic mix of activities aimed at transforming us from civilians into soldiers. On July 1st, our basic training began. The first day was dedicated to adapting to the military way of life. We received our uniforms, had our heads shaved, were vaccinated, and underwent rigorous medical screenings. The heat of San Antonio was almost unbearable, and I felt every drop of sweat running down my face. That night, exhausted, I lay down on the narrow bed in the barracks and closed my eyes, trying to process everything that had happened. The sounds of my roommates' snores mixed with the hum of the fans, creating a symphony of noises that made it difficult to sleep. My thoughts were in turmoil. I wondered if I had made the right choice, if I could withstand the rigors of training, and if I was prepared for the challenges ahead. The barracks environment was simple and functional. The beds were lined up in perfect rows, separated by metal lockers where we kept our belongings. The white, bare walls gave a sense of austerity, a constant reminder that we were there to become soldiers, not to seek comfort. On the second day, the sun was already high when we were abruptly awakened by the deafening sound of a whistle. Come on, everyone out of bed now!" Captain Harris's authoritative voice echoed through the barracks. We quickly got up, trying to adjust our uniforms and prepare for another day of strenuous training. As we marched under the scorching sun, I could feel the heat penetrating every layer of my uniform. The feeling of nausea began to increase, and my body felt increasingly heavy. Captain Harris watched us with keen eyes, correcting our posture and rhythm with every step. "Maintain formation, don't disperse," he shouted as we struggled to follow his orders. After hours of marching, we were taken to the vaccination area. Dr. Emily Thornton, the base doctor, awaited us with a serious but welcoming expression. She was a medium-height woman with brown hair tied in a tight bun and eyes that conveyed a mix of competence and concern. "Everyone in line," she instructed. "Let's start with the vaccines." As the needle pierced my skin, I felt a wave of weakness take over me. Returning to formation, the nausea intensified. "Caldwell, are you okay?" Captain Harris asked, noticing my state. Before I could answer, everything went dark. The last thing I remember before fainting was Captain Harris's worried expression. When I fell to the ground, the impact was brutal. My head hit the concrete with a sound that echoed in the environment, and everything around me began to darken quickly. I heard distant shouts and felt hands holding me, trying to wake me up. But I was being dragged into a deep, impenetrable darkness. Emery, stay with us." "Dogger." Emily Thornton's voice was insistent and full of urgency. She was kneeling beside me, checking my vital signs while other recruits stepped back, forming a circle around us. Captain Harris maintained order, but his concern was evident. "He has a weak pulse. We need to stabilize him now, Doctor," Thornton said, quickly looking at one of the medical assistants who had arrived with a stretcher. "Let's lift him carefully. There may be a spinal injury." I was conscious but unable to respond. My body felt disconnected, as if trapped between two realities. I felt an intense heat spreading through my body, and my vision reduced to a small circle of light in the center of the darkness. Then, there was a deep, resonant sound, like a cello string being played. And soon after, absolute silence. Suddenly, I was transported to a completely different place. I was in an open field at night, under a sky full of stars. The light surrounding me was warm and inviting, contrasting with the darkness I had experienced moments before. In front of me, I saw a wooden fence, and in the distance, horses passing by calmly. I must be dreaming, I thought, trying to make sense of what was happening. This can't be real. As I walked through the field, one of the horses started running towards me. The sound of its hooves against the ground was deafening, and for a moment I thought it would trample me. But at the last second, the horse swerved, passing by my side and continuing its run. That made me realize that, somehow, I was still alive in some sense. It was then that I noticed a figure in the distance. I walked towards it, feeling a strange sense of familiarity. As I got closer, I recognized my grandfather's face. He had passed away when I was still a child. But there he was, looking at me with a calm smile. "It's not your time, Emery," he said, without moving his lips. His words resonated directly in my mind. "You still have a purpose to fulfill." As he spoke, I felt a wave of information flood my mind. I saw bright lights in the sky, each representing a vital energy pulsing with an intensity I had never experienced before. And then, I began to see the future. I was watching the United States presidential election of 2024. The images were sharp and clear. The winning candidate was not someone I expected. He was a charismatic and innovative leader with a message of unity and renewal. His victory marked the beginning of a series of events that would transform world politics. The United States, under his leadership, adopted a more inclusive and cooperative foreign policy. New alliances were formed, and old animosities dissolved. Peace treaties were signed, and environmental issues became a global priority. But this new era also brought challenges. Populist and nationalist movements began to gain strength, resisting changes and creating periods of instability. Europe experienced a political renaissance with the formation of a stronger new union. In Asia, China emerged as a collaborative leader on the global economic stage. In Latin America, democratic movements flourished, inspired by the New World leadership. These visions showed me that humanity was at a critical point. The choices made in the coming years would be crucial for the future of our planet. And somehow, I was part of it all. Suddenly, I felt a force pulling me back. The field and the stars began to disappear, and I was returning to my physical body. I opened my eyes and saw Dr. Thornton's relieved face and Captain Harris's surprised expression. "He's back!" exclaimed Dr. Thornton, checking my vital signs again. "Breathe deeply, Emery. You're safe now." As I regained consciousness, I felt a new determination within me. I had seen something extraordinary, something that would change my life forever. I knew I needed to live differently, more consciously and compassionately. The fluorescent light of the barracks seemed more intense when I returned to consciousness. Dr. Thornton remained by my side, monitoring my vital signs with a relieved expression. Captain Harris, who usually maintained a rigid and authoritative posture, seemed momentarily relaxed, but soon resumed his usual composure. "You were very lucky, Caldwell," he said, his voice now softer. "We really thought we had lost you." I was still trying to process what had happened. The vision of the future, the presence of my grandfather. Everything seemed so real, yet at the same time, impossible. Captain Harris's words pulled me out of my thoughts. "What happened to me?" I asked, my voice hoarse and weak. "Apparently, you suffered from heat exhaustion and had an adverse reaction to the vaccines, Dr. Thornton explained. "You fainted and hit your head hard on the ground. We are monitoring you to ensure there are no permanent damages." As I listened to the explanation, my mind was still trapped in the visions I had during my near-death experience. The future I had seen, the political events, and the global changes, all seemed so urgent and real. I knew I couldn't just ignore what I had witnessed. I was transferred to the infirmary, where I spent the following days under observation. The nights were long and silent, and I often found myself lost in thought, trying to understand the meaning of my experience. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw flashes of the future, as if my brain was trying to process everything I had seen. Major Anderson, a senior officer, came to visit me several times during my recovery. He was a calm and thoughtful man, with eyes that seemed to see beyond appearances. His presence was comforting, and he always brought words of encouragement. I heard about what happened, Caldwell. He said during one of his visits, "Experiences like yours can be transformative. It's important that you find meaning in what you went through." "Major, I saw things," I began to explain, hesitating a little. "Things I can't get out of my head. I saw the future. I saw events that will change the world." Major Anderson didn't seem surprised. He settled into a chair beside my bed and looked at me attentively. "Tell me what you saw," he said calmly. I recounted to him everything I could remember from my visions. Before we continue, just one request. Please subscribe to our channel. It really helps us keep going. Before continuing, just one request. Subscribe to the channel. This helps us a lot to continue. The 2024 election, political changes, and global movements. While speaking, Major Anderson listened attentively, occasionally asking questions to clarify details. His reaction was one of genuine interest and concern. "Emery, what you saw is extraordinary," he said after I finished my account. "Whatever the meaning of these visions, it is clear that you have been touched by something far beyond the ordinary. Perhaps you have a role to play in these future events." Those words stayed with me. During my recovery, I began to reflect on how I could use what I saw to make a difference. I knew my life could not continue as before. I had a greater purpose, something I needed to discover and fulfill. When I was finally released from the infirmary, I returned to training with a new perspective. The physical and mental challenges that once seemed insurmountable were now seen as necessary steps to prepare me for something greater. Captain Harris noticed the change in my attitude and, although still strict, seemed to respect my new determination. "You are different, Caldwell," he commented one day during a training break. "What happened to you down there changed something inside you." "Yes, sir," I replied with conviction. "I believe I have a greater purpose here, something I need to discover and fulfill." From that moment on, I began to approach each day of training with a new determination. Every march, every exercise, every task was an opportunity to strengthen myself and prepare for what was to come. Major Anderson's teachings and my grandfather's words echoed in my mind, guiding my actions and decisions. My transformation did not go unnoticed by my colleagues. Some approached curious about what had changed in me. Others, like Recruit Johnson, one of the most skeptical, asked me directly, "Caldwell, what happened to you that day?" He asked during a break. "You were almost dead, and now it seems like you came back with a mission." "I saw things, Johnson," I replied, trying to find the right words. "Things that made me realize we have a greater purpose here. I can't explain everything, but I know I'm here for a reason." Over time, my story began to spread around the base. Some saw me as an inspiration, others as a curiosity. But for me, the important thing was that I had found a new purpose, something that drove me every day. The days turned into weeks, and I continued to dive into training with renewed intensity. The Lakeland Air Base, with its wide runways and austere buildings, became my proving ground. The Texas heat that once seemed unbearable was now just a challenge to overcome. During the marches and exercises, my mind frequently returned to those visions of the future. I clearly saw the face of the winning candidate in the 2024 elections, his words of hope and unity echoing in my mind. I needed to understand more about what I had seen and how I could be part of this global transformation. One night, after a particularly exhausting day, I sat on my bunk, still sweaty and covered in dust. My roommates were asleep, and the silence of the night was broken only by the sound of fans. I took a notebook and a pen and began to write down everything I remembered from my visions. Every detail, every fragment of information, everything needed to be recorded. As I wrote, I felt a familiar presence. It was as if my grandfather was there with me, guiding my hand. "You need to remember." It seemed to whisper in my mind. "These visions are important." The next morning, I took my notes to Major Anderson. He received me in his office, an orderly space with shelves full of books and a large American flag hanging on the wall. He looked at me with an air of curiosity and concern. "Major, I need your help," I began, handing him the notebook. I wrote down everything I could remember from my visions. "I think there's something important here, something we need to understand. He took the notebook and began to leaf through it, reading each page carefully. His expression changed from curiosity to seriousness as he absorbed the information. After a few minutes, he looked at me, his eyes reflecting a mix of surprise and admiration. "Emery, this is extraordinary," he said, closing the notebook. "If these visions are real, you may have a crucial role in future events. We need to think about how we can use this information positively." His response gave me a new sense of purpose. I decided that I needed to learn more about leadership, politics, and how global changes happen. I began to use my free time to study books on history, political science, and philosophy, trying to understand the context of my visions. During one of our conversations, Major Anderson suggested that I speak with Dr. Emily Thornton. He believed she could help interpret my near-death experience from a medical and psychological perspective. I agreed and scheduled a meeting with her. Dr. Thornton received me in her office, a welcoming environment with plants and photographs of natural landscapes on the walls. She offered me a chair and began asking questions about my experience. "Emily, tell me everything that happened that day," she said, with a calm and professional tone. "I want to understand every detail of your near-death experience." I recounted everything I remembered, from the moment I fainted to the visions of the future. She listened attentively, taking notes and asking pointed questions to clarify details. When I finished, she was silent for a moment, reflecting on what she had heard. "Your visions are fascinating," she finally said. "The near-death experience can trigger deep and meaningful perceptions. What you saw can be interpreted in various ways, but it clearly had a profound impact on you." Dr. Thornton encouraged me to continue exploring my visions and to use this knowledge to guide my actions. She also suggested that I talk to other people who had similar experiences to better understand what I was going through. I followed her advice and began to seek support groups and communities of people who had near-death experiences. I found an online group where I could share my story and hear accounts from other people. These conversations were enlightening and helped me put my visions into perspective. Meanwhile, I continued to excel in training. My physical and mental skills were improving, and I began to take on leadership roles within my platoon. Captain Harris, who was initially strict with me, began to trust more in my abilities and give me more responsibilities. "You have the potential to be a great leader, Caldwell," he said one day, as we walked together after an exercise. "The experience you went through gave you a unique perspective. Use it to your advantage." Those words motivated me even more. I knew I had a long way to go, but I was determined to fulfill my purpose. Each day was an opportunity to learn, grow, and prepare for future challenges. As the training progressed, I felt more prepared and determined to actively engage in building the future I had seen. Every step I took was guided by the conviction that my near-death experience had not been in vain. I knew I needed to rise to the challenge that awaited me. One of the first concrete actions I took was to seek more knowledge about politics and leadership. I asked Major Anderson to recommend books and study materials. He handed me a stack of books ranging from biographies of historical leaders to treatises on political science and international diplomacy. "These books will give you a good foundation," he said, handing me the first stack. "Leadership is not just about giving orders, but about understanding people and the contexts in which you are inserted." I spent the nights in the barracks, reading voraciously. My roommates often saw me with a book in hand and began to call me the scholar. The nickname stuck, but I didn't mind. I knew that every page I read brought me closer to my goal. In addition to reading, I began to actively participate in discussions and debates in the online group about near-death experiences. The conversations were intense and full of insights. I met people who, like me, had been transformed by their experiences and were now seeking ways to make a difference in the world. One of these people was Lisa, a middle-aged woman from Chicago, who had had an experience similar to mine. She had seen visions of a future marked by great technological advances, but also by ethical and social challenges. Our conversations were long and deep, and we often discussed how we could use our knowledge to positively influence the world around us. "Emery, what you saw is incredible," Lisa said during one of our conversations. "We need to find ways to share these visions with others and create a movement for change." I fully agreed. I knew I couldn't change the world alone, but I could start making a difference in my own circle of influence. I began organizing small gatherings with my platoon colleagues where we discussed not only our military experiences, but also our dreams and visions for the future. We have the power to shape the future. We have the power to shape the future, I would say to them during these gatherings. It all starts with our actions today. We need to be leaders in our own lives before we can lead others. Captain Harris and Major Anderson noticed my initiatives and supported me in every way possible. They encouraged me to continue developing my leadership skills and to share my visions with more people. "You have something special, Emery," Captain Harris said one day, as we walked through the training field. "Keep following this path. The world needs leaders like you." Additionally, I began to get involved in community activities outside the base. During weekends, I volunteered at local community centers, helping with development and education projects. These experiences gave me a broader perspective on the needs and challenges of ordinary people, and helped me apply my knowledge in practical contexts. It was during one of these activities that I met Mrs. Helen, an elderly woman who ran an adult literacy program. Her passion for education and commitment to the community were inspiring. "Emery, each of us has a role to play," she said one day, as we organized books in the small community library. "Your gifts and visions can touch many lives. Never underestimate the impact you can have." Those words resonated deeply with me. I started to see every interaction, every small action, as an opportunity to make a difference. Did you know that the path to fulfilling my visions involved those moments of connection and positive impact? Now, looking back, I see how far we've come since those days of strenuous training at the Lakeland Air Base. The visions I had during my near-death experience became a reality, and the world changed in ways I could never have imagined. Today, I am here, speaking to you at a crucial moment for our country and the world. The upcoming elections are approaching, bringing with them a new opportunity to shape our future. The changes we have witnessed since the 2024 election have been profound and transformative. We have seen the formation of new alliances, the signing of peace treaties, and a renewed focus on environmental issues. But we have also faced challenges, resistance, and periods of instability. As we approach another election, I feel a deep hope and a sense of responsibility. This is a decisive moment, a chance for all of us to choose leaders who will continue to guide us with wisdom, passion, and vision. The choices we make now will have lasting impacts for future generations, and I would like to leave a message of hope for all of you. Regardless of the election results, remember that each of us has the power to make a difference. Every action, no matter how small, contributes to the greater good. We must continue to educate ourselves, engage in our communities, and support one another. The experience I lived taught me that life is precious and that every moment is an opportunity to learn and grow. I learned that love and compassion are powerful forces that can transform the world, and I learned that together we are capable of creating a bright and promising future. Let's face the elections with hope and determination. Let's choose leaders who reflect our values and dreams, and let's continue to work together, building a world where everyone can thrive. Thank you for listening to me, and remember, the future is in our hands. Keep faith, hope, and determination, because together we can build a better tomorrow. So, what did you think of this incredible story? Leave your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Activate the notification bell to be notified of each new video. Let's bring hope to more people that there is life beyond what the eyes can see.